The Chicago Bulls pulled through last night to get a win over a team that had led the majority of the game. Rallying together did the Big Three and Pat Bev to come out and lead the Bulls over the Houston Rockets. We're going to talk about that win. We're also going to ask, can the Bulls peak at the right time with the schedule they have coming up in the next 2 weeks? We're going to get into all that, plus the mailbag, right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. I'm the host here, Hayes. You guys can follow me right off the top at CEO Hayes, at CEO Haize. And the Bulls got a major team win last night when it came to the Houston Rockets, the game in which that saw our big three players actually show up and look like a big three when needed, right? And plus Pat Bev. And the key thing is that the big three plus Pat Bev all had over 5 assists in a game in which over half our buckets were assisted on. We now move into the 10th spot, which we'll talk about here in a second, but the performances of Zach LaVine for one. Another huge game from Zach LaVine. He has 36 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Then you also have DeMar DeRozan chipping in, albeit not as efficient shooting, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists from him. Nikola Vucevic with 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. And Pat Bev with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. And we'll talk about Drummond and Pat Bev a little bit more, but I want to focus right now on Zach LaVine and Zach LaVine just continuing his stellar play since the All-Star break and averaging over 30 points per game, showing up big, getting a big bucket. We stayed close in this game because of Zach LaVine. Now, when it came to overtaking the win, it was Pat Bev and his energy, and that's why I am going to give my MVP of the game to Pat Bev. But let's be clear here. The Chicago Bulls do not have an opportunity to even stay in this game with how the Houston Rockets were playing early if it wasn't for Zach LaVine just being the bucket getter and the elite offensive player that we know he has the potential to be. And so that needs to be rewarded. Zach LaVine continues since the acquisition of Pat Bev, but even before then, as I told you guys before, really since about mid-December, Zach LaVine has just turned it on in a different way, but we are seeing just it all come together now in this post-All-Star break. Zach LaVine is playing like the player that we paid him to play like. And as long as Zach LaVine is going to continue playing in that manner, the Bulls are going to have a chance, right? But then when you add in the rest of the games from the big three, specifically Nikola Vucevic, who had, in my opinion, a disappointing first half in this game, comes back in the second half, and especially a big third and fourth quarter, and is just, again, Mr. Reliable and consistent when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. Vooch had an amazing game, and I, for one, still don't understand why Bulls fandom gives so much hate towards Nikola Vucevic, because he has just been so consistent and consistently good. Yes, he has his defensive issues and limitations, but Nikola Vucevic is just, he's a baller, and I love the way that Vooch plays on this team. And again, as I've said in the last couple of episodes, when Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic kind of become the primary parts of your team, and as far as offensively, it absolutely modernizes the offense. Now, DeMar DeRozan took some questionable shots in this game, but let's be clear here. DeMar DeRozan did what he does best as well, getting to the free throw line 10 times. He hit 7 of those, getting to the free throw line, all needed buckets for the Chicago Bulls. Every time that Zach LaVine did get a chance to sit down and we needed a big bucket, it was DeMar DeRozan, but DeMar also continuing his ability to facilitate. 6 rebounds, 5 assists from DeMar DeRozan, and 27 points. Major game from DeMar DeRozan as well. I do not want to overlook it. Yeah, you're going to get some of the questionable shots. You're going to get the isolation going one-on-one at times, and that's going to slow things down at times. But let's be clear. Sometimes you do need to slow down the game. And with the way that the Houston Rockets are getting out in transition, getting quick, easy three-pointers, DeMar DeRozan kind of slowing that game down did help a little bit for the Chicago Bulls. Now, the questionable shots didn't. Again, going 9 of 21, I would like to see much better efficiency from DeMar DeRozan, but getting to the free throw line is major, major, major for DeMar DeRozan and his ability to just get the Bulls buckets when we needed buckets. And then also, out in transition, he had 2 different times where he caught Zach LaVine on transition, one for an absolute highlight dunk, and another one for a lay-in that, and I think he missed Zach on one as well. I think that came from DeMar when that missed one from Zach. But it just, this team played differently. And the fact of the matter is that this is usually a game how the season has gone that the Bulls would have lost, right? You had the Houston Rockets who just kept putting the pressure on the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls getting the lead down to 1 going into halftime, and they got the lead down to 1 a couple of different times in that second quarter, but the Houston Rockets always marched back. Even in the third quarter, it wasn't until the fourth quarter that the Chicago Bulls got their first lead since the opening minute of the game, right? And the Bulls just keeping up that defensive intensity. But if we're going to talk about that, it all comes down to Pat Bev. Pat Bev is the MVP because what Pat Bev did last night is just huge. Like the energy, the getting to the loose balls, the tipping rebounds out so other players can get them. Patrick Beverley, and then we're not even going to talk about the 4 or 5 3-point shooting from Pat Bev, all being needed 3-pointers on top of that. He had 5 offensive rebounds alone, right? Keep in mind, as a team, we had 13 offensive rebounds. Almost half our offensive rebounds came from Patrick Beverley alone. That's the type of energy he played with. He also had the highest plus minus of any player on the team because that energy. At 10 rebounds, 5 assists overall, for 16 points, major. He also had a block, major game from Patrick Beverley, and that is why we brought him in. And it really is showing that the Chicago Bulls may be starting to peak at the right time. Now, I say that word may because you guys know I am really pessimistic on the finishing of the season for the Chicago Bulls. But when they give performances like they did against Denver, then followed up against, yes, one of the worst teams in the league in the Houston Rockets. But this is why matchup issues are a thing. We don't match up well, especially starting Alex Caruso with the Houston Rockets, their size, their length, and their athleticism and youth. We just don't match up well against that with that starting lineup. But we were able to overcome that last night and have a great game and just win that game. We needed this win. We needed this team win. And when you hear about the things that the players are saying right now, even Zach LaVine talking about Patrick Beverley saying energy, heart, toughness, vocal. He gets us going. You can see how much he cares about winning and his teammates. We definitely needed someone like that. It shows with the impact he has on the game. Yes. And so when you look at the Chicago Bulls, yes, it sucks that we were missing our vocal leader. It sucks that we didn't have that on a team where we have 3 players making big and huge contracts, but we didn't have that vocality and the leader that we needed to be vocal and to check these players. Patrick Beverley is bringing that, and we're seeing the results of it. Am I putting it all on Pat Bev? No, because it's still up to the other players to perform. But Pat Bev has come in and brought a needed aspect of this team that we've been missing all season long. And even Pat Bev saying this, I was just excited to be here. Obviously, family and friends here, a lot of memories here. And that's what Pat Bev on his performance last night in Houston, where he started his career at. The edge that this team now plays with since Patrick Beverley came to this team is noticeable. And that's what we need to continue seeing from this team if this team is going to make a push for a play-in spot. The Bulls, with this win, do move now into the 10th spot in the play-in race. So they will have a play-in spot right now. But can the Bulls hold on to it with a difficult 2 weeks coming ahead for the Chicago Bulls? That is the biggest question remaining here for us. We face Sacramento, Minnesota, and Miami all this week, right? Those are all teams that are either play-in or playoff teams. It's going to be tough for the Chicago Bulls. You cannot overlook Sacramento, a team that's already beat you. Minnesota has its own problems, and it's going to be interesting to see how Vooch plays with a defensive center like Rudy Gobert there and how Vooch is able to get off. How does that change the play style of the Chicago Bulls and how they run their offense? And then Miami. Miami is the team that we have beat this season, but we know what Miami is, especially when they have a dog on that team like Jimmy Butler. It's going to be a tough week for the Chicago Bulls, albeit over those 3 games. But with the heart that the Bulls are playing with now, they absolutely have a chance. And how the Bulls fare over these next 2 weeks is going to really tell the story of this play-in thing, right? The Bulls now hold that play-in spot. They still hold the tiebreaker over the Wizards, but nothing's coming easy for the Chicago Bulls team. They cannot rest. And the thing that I've said and why I have my doubts about the Chicago Bulls and their ability to make the play-in is because of the level of heart that they're going to have to play with every night now from now to the end of the season it's not something that we've seen from the team this season. Now, can they do it? Yeah, they have the capability of doing it. We have the ability to. The question is are we going to? That is the biggest question right now for the Chicago Bulls, and it's going to be one that's told on the court. Right now, the Bulls do hold the 10th spot, right? They have a half-game lead over the Washington Wizards. Well, technically we're tied, but since we own the tiebreaker, it puts us over there. The Indiana Pacers as well. Every other team that's in the play-in spot right now, that's the Heat, the Hawks, and the Toronto Raptors, are all on losing streaks. The Toronto Raptors specifically on a 3-game losing streak, and this is where the Bulls need to make their move. So many times we've been close. We've tasted it almost, but we haven't been able to get there. We end up following up big wins with losing streaks. The Bulls, they're going to lose games, right? I'm not saying that I expect them not to lose any games, but the Bulls have to play above 500 basketball from here until the end of the season. We have 15 games left. That is it. 15 games left, and 7 of these games over the next 2 weeks are going to really tell. I already went over the next 3 next week. But then the week after that, we have 2 games against Philly, 1 game against Portland, and 1 game against Lakers all next week, right? So these 7 games are going to be hugely telling for how the Chicago Bulls are going to fare in that play-in race. Not expecting them to win all of them, but if the Bulls can go 4-3, God forbid 5-2 over this stretch, it's going to really solidify that play-in race a lot, depending on what the other teams do. But the Bulls have to control their own destiny. They have to. It is in their hands. And the opponents that are ahead of them are the level of opponents they're going to face in the play-in tournament. And I've said this on yesterday's live stream. If the Bulls do make the play-in, and if they finish the season strong with a good winning record, the fact that they play so many playoff teams and play-in level teams between now and the end of the season, it's going to be a primer for the Chicago Bulls to get them prepared for the way that they need to play in that play-in tournament. So if the Bulls do end up making that play-in tournament, I think that they would have to have been playing basketball at such a good level that then it may change my outlook on how they can fare in that play-in tournament. But it's all key. They got to take care of business, and they have to win against these teams. They have to. And they have to also win the schedule that they have remaining against sub 500 teams. The Bulls have to perform. And if they do not perform, the postseason play hopes are all going to be slashed very quickly. Let's hope that this team continues to play with what we saw last night and they continue to get the big wins, and we'll see what that means for this team. But okay, that's enough of me talking. Let's go ahead and get into the voicemails for today. This first one up, this one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? I know that you probably going to agree with this, and I know you said it before, but here's some reasons why I think Patrick Williams should be put back in the starting lineup for the Chicago Bulls. You know, yes, one is the size, but another reason is because he seems more motivated to score. And another instance is the fact that ever since Goran Dragic left, we don't really have that much playmaking on the bench. Now, look, I know what people are going to say. Alex Caruso is a cutter and all of that. He cuts a lot, very better than Patrick Williams, but ever since DeMar DeRozan has been becoming a playmaker, and Zach LaVine is becoming the main scorer, and Vucevic too, but I feel like with Patrick Williams out there with Vucevic, he'll have much more better spacing, and don't get me wrong, Pat Beverly can hit the three, but he's not really consistent, nor is DeMar DeRozan. I feel like that will give DeMar DeRozan a much more help too when it comes to his playmaking up until the fourth quarter when he decides to take over like he always does. But I feel like, you know, Pat will definitely helps out not just with the 3 and D, not just with threes, but also with his defense. I mean, he could guard players much smaller and much bigger. And when it comes to the bench, let's face it, you even said Io is really not a good playmaker. He's a scorer. So, and we all know Caruso from the playoffs last year is a very good playmaker, and he's even had a game, I think, where he's had a triple-double and assists. And I feel like Caruso definitely does benefit from coming off the bench with Io because it gives Io some help, and then on top of that, Caruso doesn't really look to score. And then not to mention, you know, like I said earlier, I don't know if you probably read my last message, but he probably could help Andre Drummond get into rhythm offensively because we know Andre Drummond definitely needs a point guard there. Otherwise, he becomes a non-factor on the offensive end unless he's rebounding. Anyway, Tim, what you think?
And Shay laying out the reasons why he feels Patrick Williams should be starting. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily disagree with the thing that you said. I do think just to make the lineup more standard, Patrick Williams should be back in the starting lineup. I do think that last night aside, Patrick Williams has been showing more aggressive, more focus coming off the bench. But I do think that the rest of this season, they are going to remain Patrick Williams being on the bench unless it's just some specific matchups. And I think they're going to let that aggression, let that consistency build, and then let him earn that starting spot back in the offseason. Do I agree with it? No, but that is a route that I can see it going. Now, I do like the way that Patrick Williams has been playing defense. Last night, the offense left much to be desired from him. And so I want to start seeing Patrick Williams just find a consistent level of play, consistently give the energy things, consistently just give those effort type things from the Chicago Bulls, and then let the shot come where they were. He had a big 3 for us last night, but that was really it, right? He wasn't really looking for a shot as much as I would have liked to see Patrick Williams looking for a shot in a game that saw we needed more scoring at points in this game. Now, luckily, we got it right. Shout out to Andre Drummond. I also forgot to point out his 11 points being 4 for 4 from the field and 5 rebounds in only 14 minutes. But Patrick Williams has to continue to just carve out his lane. Worry about starting or not later. Patrick Williams needs to find a way to keep that energy up, regardless if he's coming off the bench, regardless if he's in the starting lineup, and perform. And if he does that, I think he's going to find his way back into the starting lineup, and he'll be back to our starting power forward at some point. All right, let's get into this next one. This one is from DK.
Yo, what's good, Hayes? I'm DK, new to the channel, you feel me? And my question to you, bro, how will Dalen fit into the rotation if Pat is going to be the future small forward? Because I love Pat. I really do. He's a good he's not a defensive anchor, but he's a good defensive player. He can still handle the ball and everything. And knowing Pat's skills, how is Dalen going to fit into that rotation? Yes, I know he's a rookie, but with his upside that he has, with the energy that he brings, the defensive capability that he also brings, how is the future of Zach, Dalen, and Pat going to look out in like 3 years from now? Because, yeah, Zach will be around, 30-something. Pat will be older. Dalen would probably be in the starting rotation. I don't know how that's going to work, to be honest. But, yeah, give me your feedback, I guess. You can.
All right, shout out to DK for leaving his first voicemail. He asked, how do we see the lineup matching up? Here's what I'll say. The benefit of Patrick Williams and Dalen Terry is they're players that can play multiple positions. And I know some people are going to get this hype, but Patrick Williams can't play the 4. I do think long-term it's going to be Dalen Terry at the 3 and Patrick Williams at the 4. That is kind of how you look at the team that we faced last night in the Houston Rockets, right? I think that's the way that basketball is going, but that's far off. I think initially Dalen Terry is going to come off the bench, and that's fine. And when you look at Dalen Terry's game, Dalen Terry has a Swiss Army knife game. He's going to be able to play next to anyone. That is why A.K. and Eversley did draft him. Dalen Terry can theoretically play 3 positions, and A.K. has already talked about wanting to see Dalen Terry play small ball 4. So we're looking at 4 possible positions. If Dalen Terry rounds out his game, we know the defensive intensity, we know the playmaking, we know the passing, that shot's coming along. Dalen Terry can fit in with any roster. So I don't necessarily see the concerns that you do over the fit over the course of the next couple of seasons, because Dalen Terry can really, right now, he's a Swiss Army knife, and that's what he projects to be over his career. And if he does, and if he is that, it makes it so flexible in how you can build the rest of that starting lineup out. So I don't necessarily see that. And I look at Dalen Terry's ability that he's going to be able to come in initially when he does start getting minutes. It's going to be the defense. It's going to be the energy. It's going to be the passing. That's what Dalen Terry is going to initially bring when he does start cracking the rotation consistently for the Chicago Bulls. And those are things that you can get in on any roster, right? And then if his shot starts falling, and depends on how his offensive game starts growing, he can make further adjustments based off that. But like you said, even in your voicemail, we're years away from that as far as Dalen Terry getting to that point. But up until that point, it's going to be easy. I'm not really too worried about the fit there. I'm worried about Billy Donovan playing him. I will say that. But once he does get in the game and he gets those consistent minutes, I really look at Dalen Terry as really the modern day just basketball player. And he's where the league is going. Players that can play multiple positions, that can shoot, pass, and do almost everything and play solid defense. That's where the NBA is going. So I definitely think Dalen Terry is going to always find a spot, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily I understand the concern, but I don't think it's going to be something that we necessarily have to worry about over the course of Dalen Terry's career. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Brandon L. Jet.
Yo, Hayes, what's going on? Brandon L. Jet. My question for you in regards to your mailbag is in regards to Javonte Green. I don't think he's coming back this year. And based on his level of play and how he has earned a contract with another team next year, I don't think he will return for the Bulls next season. I think somebody out there, another team out there, is going to pay him a salary that the Bulls cannot match. Given their serious salary cap woes and their issues right now and a ton of guards up on their roster, I just don't see him coming back. If by some chance he is not healthy during the off season, that may change a little bit depending on what his situation is. But if he's not healthy, and let's say that he won't get healthy until the start of next season, do you think AK would give him a shot when all other teams would pass on him? Let's just say, for example, kind of like a 1-year prove-it deal, just to prove that he's healthy, and he tried to be a free agent the year after that. What are your thoughts on that? Take care. Peace.
Great insight on Javonte Green, and I agree with everything you said as well. I think that I've been saying for the longest when Javonte was healthy, I don't think the Bulls are going to bring him back. I think that a team is going to offer him money that the Bulls just can't offer because of everything else that they have to bring to this team. The only saving grace for the Chicago Bulls in re-signing Dalen Terry is if this injury does hurt the interest from him from around the league and with other teams. And then maybe AK can convince Javonte Green to stay for a 1+1 deal, right? Where the second year of the deal is either a team or player option and really allow Javonte kind of an extra year to just prove what he can be. I think the AK would be motivated to keep him as well because if the Bulls go out and they make the moves and the trades that we do, we can re-sign Javonte Green and go over the salary cap to do so. And considering we're already operating as an over-the-cap team, it would make sense for that. So I think that depending on what goes on with Javonte Green's health, that can be the saving grace. But I can also see a team coming in and saying, nah, man, listen, we need that energy. We need that defense. And if they can offer Javonte to only play the 3, or God forbid the 2/3 rather than the 4, I think Javonte is going to be a beast if he's not playing the 4 at that point in time. He's already been a beast playing the 4 at times. So I definitely think the possibility of holding on to Javonte, I give it maybe a 35% chance unless that injury carries on into the offseason. At that point, I think he, his agent, and the Chicago Bulls may be motivated to come back together. But then again, the Chicago Bulls would then be trying to sell a fan base on giving another player a contract with more knee injury concerns, and we're still dealing with the Lonzo Ball thing. So I think one way or another that injury would have to clear up in a major way. Because I don't know if AK is going to want the backlash that comes if Javonte Green isn't necessarily ready to start the season. So we'll see what happens with that. But I do think Javonte is going to get his money. 29 years old. This is his time, and it sucks that he had this injury and the surgery at this time. But Javonte is a Chicago Bulls type player, so I hope that he ends up staying in here. And if the injury helps us keep him and he is able to make a recovery from it, we're better off for it. But all right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This is from Auntie.
Hey, what's the word, nephew? Hey, this your Auntie Goon. Hey, bad win, but good win, and we will take the win. That's all I'm going to say about it. Bad win, good win, we're going to take the win. But hold on. I'm rewatching this Bulls game. Let me put this on. Mute the TV real quick. I'm just trying to figure out, I just can't figure out this identity with the Bulls. What type of identity do we have, hey? Because I don't understand this shit. Like, every team that's above 500, the Bulls play like superstars. They play like all-stars. But the team that's under 500, it's like them teams get the Bulls problems. I don't get the Bulls. Why do y'all bring y'all identity down to a bad experience? Like, y'all had Houston playing like y'all gave them confidence to hold that fucking game. Until the fourth quarter, you ask me. I mean, it's just so much Zach can do. I'm glad DeMar, he stepped up. I give it to him, but he was a fuck up today. Kobe White lost his damn man today. And Alex Caruso, I don't know. But it just, your star player just could do so much. And thank God, everybody thought that Patrick Beverly was a bad pickup. I even thought I ain't want him back in Chicago. I ain't gonna lie to you. But it definitely was a good pickup. He definitely helped on offense. He definitely helped on defense, especially offense when we need him. Especially when it was clutch time. Patrick Beverly, he gets on that. He played his heart out. I don't give a fuck. That nigga played like, yes, he gets on one. And then if you fucking up, he jumping in your face on the corner lane, you know what position you're supposed to be in, what player you're supposed to be sticking. He gonna put you in your place. That's one thing I love about him. But hey, check this out. The Bulls, Chicago bullshitters. That's y'all name. Playtime over. I don't know when y'all gonna realize playtime is over. And Billy, and that was a bad position that you did. Why would you take Patrick Beverly out? Every time you want to do good players, not even one of the good players, any player on the team get hot. As soon as they get on fire, your dumb ass want to keep taking their ass out. Why you keep doing that stupid ass shit? That's goofy as hell. You're a goofball Jamal ass coach. I just don't understand your gum chewing ass. I am so sick of you, DeMar, and Kobe. You starting to get on my motherfucking nerves too. Bruce, your big foot ass need to move them motherfuckers. You starting to piss me off too. Listen, I'm already going through shit. I got it. I'm going through. Y'all just edging on to the motherfucking problem like this shit don't make sense. We ain't got too many motherfucking games. And then y'all want to come out today. Y'all had 2-3 days off. Fuck y'all do? Get drunk all them days off? Y'all didn't go to practice? Y'all didn't pay attention?
All right. Auntie asked, what is the Bulls' identity going forward? Here's what I'll say. I don't know. Like, and the thing is, the rest of this season, Pat Bev is our identity. The edge and everything that he brings, the defense that we've been playing lately, that's going to be our identity. The bigger question is do the Bulls maintain him, right, or retain him this offseason? And then do they build an identity that's sustainable at that point? Because, yeah, I love Pat Bev, and I love the energy he brings, and all that has been huge for this team and needed. But the Bulls have to find an identity outside of just Pat Bev going into next season. It's fine into the season that way because that's what we have. But going into next season, we have to find a better way to have an identity, to have an edge, to have consistency. We have to have more than just Pat Bev for that. I do think Dalen Terry can be one of the players that help set the identity, not albeit in what would be his second season at that point, but I do think at some point in Dalen Terry's career, he will be a player. Dalen Terry is going to be like Bobby Portis was for the Bulls in a way, right? Just at a different position. But I think the Bulls, they have to find that identity, and it's not coming from the head coach. It's not coming from that. So you have to find a way to get that into your roster. You have to find a way to be a more vocal roster. You have to find a way to get more shooting on this team. The Bulls have a lot of work to do, and building their identity this offseason is going to be the biggest one. But I do think that the rest of the season, we're kind of seeing it's going to be a scrappy team. It's going to be identified by Pat Bev and the energy that he brings, and Zach LaVine having big games. That's going to be the energy now into the end of the season. Let's see how the front office tries to mold that going into next season. And to your point of Pat Bev being a great pickup, Pat Bev has been everything that we could ever imagine and we needed for this team. He just has been. And yeah, it sucks that you have to get that on the buyout market, but we needed it. And Pat Bev has brought that in. And, you know, people's had their doubts about Pat Bev. I had my own doubts about Pat Bev as well. I don't want to make it seem like it was just everybody else. No, I absolutely had my doubts on what Pat Bev was actually going to bring to this team. And we're seeing it. The Pat Bev effect is a thing. It may not be to the level that some people that we were trying as creators were trying to make it out to be early on, but it is a thing, and it has had an impact, and it has made a change for a team that needed everything that Pat Bev did bring to this team. But you guys can let me know what you guys think on everything down below on all the topics. Make sure you also follow the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Last, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. We at 11K, y'all, man. We're going to keep growing, keep pushing it here, man. The Bulls got a dub. We'll be back here for the next time the Bulls play. Other than that, you guys know I drop a video every single day. We're the only true daily Chicago Bulls channel on all of YouTube and all of podcasts. So thank you guys so much for just being what you mean to me for this channel and to help push me to be the best creative I can be, man. Otherwise, go Bulls. See red if you can, man. I love you guys, man. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.